Well, hello again, Steve here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the value of creating peace in our lives. And I think this is particularly important for our inner genie paths because a lot of times we can get stressed out, obviously, right? And if we can find ways and means that work for us individually to calm down, to relax, it has a way of, if you will, recharging our batteries, our energetic batteries. And it helps sort of put the pause on the gyrations of life in such a way that we can get a better perspective and see things that maybe we didn't because we're so, fluttery in our minds, if you will. And I'll just share a few things, memories, if you will, of my own that have, when I think back, I found in that momentary perfect peace, if you will. I can remember certain times in church, not so much when I was young, but later on a couple times when I went there deliberately to see if maybe I missed something, right? Usually I wouldn't find anything, but I'd find moments. And it's kind of like that inner tingling going on where nothing seems to really matter. Everything's kind of a big joke in a way. All the worry and all that sort of thing, right? Other times I've experienced this have been to do with my own form of meditation, usually before going to sleep, where there is a simultaneous awareness of my body from toes to tip of my hair, and sometimes even beyond that into the room. There is a momentary sequential awareness, and it is absolutely ecstatic, or is that the right word? I don't know. It's blissful. That's the term I would say. It's blissful, and it's very relaxing, and nothing seems to matter. It's sort of like it's like the spiritual equivalent of the feeling, the physical feeling of orgasm in a way. I mean, how many people think back to your last orgasm or whatever? Because it's hard even to think back at it because there's no thought there, is there? In that moment, it's like there's no you're not thinking about the political problems or what are the financial problems. It's just there. You can only be there in that moment of surge, right? And yeah, so if we can create ways that we can get ourselves into a relaxing, methodologies in a way, or systems or ways that we can get ourselves into a relaxing mode, it can be very helpful for those for those stressful times. Another time that I experienced this quite a bit was early on in my adult life when I was kind of a hippie, I guess you'd say. In fact, somebody recently mentioned that he thought his impression of me was that I was a hippie at one point, and now he thinks I'm kind of this right-wing guy or something. I haven't really changed. I've evolved over time, but I've followed a philosophical approach to life and what works. And actually, a lot of the things I learned back then, and I'll get into that, I still do, right? Because we build upon what we've learned in a way, right? But in this course I did years ago called Quantum Leap, this guy, he taught us a lot about his method of relaxing and his method of being able to, what he would almost call, go into ourselves, and to start methodically by being aware of our toes, being aware of our feet, being aware of our legs, being aware of our, buttocks and everything else, and groin and what have you, and work all the way up. But then simultaneously, as that awareness spreads, to continue to be aware of what was first, to continue to be aware of the toes, for example. So it's like this sensation of flooding. If you could imagine the body as a hollow chamber, and all of a sudden you're flooding it, and the water is getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and there becomes this awareness of the entire body as one, and the thoughts kind of go away. It becomes this sort of momentary growing awareness of sensation, and it has this way of relaxing. And I've got no explanation for it, but I've had situations before where I have an ache in part of my body, and if I flood it with this sort of awareness, it goes away. It's really bizarre. It's headaches, the whole works. I mean, it has a way of distressing somehow. Don't know how, but somebody I know recently sent me a video, and a lot of this stuff doesn't make any logical sense, as this video didn't make any logical sense. And I'm going to title this, Will King John Save Us, in a way, because it was a video about, she had all these, charts and everything about how there's this guy, King John, who's actually the real heir to the throne in England, and he's going to rule over Canada and what have you, and he's a real spiritual guy and all this sort of thing. And I took great joy in watching it in some ways, even though I have no way of verifying this that I can see other than a few tidbits along the way. But it didn't really matter, because this woman was so joyous in a way that she had discovered all these things, and it was very relaxing for her to be able to be a light bearer, as she called it, of love and truth and so on to the world. And I come to think that's sort of the basis of a lot of religious beliefs, and the beliefs of gods and personal gods and all this sort of thing, is in times of trouble, if we can offload our troubles momentarily and take on something more beautiful, more peaceful, then it can help us to relax. And in that process of relaxing, we can then gain strength, because the body, I think, when we're stressed emotionally, mentally, and so on, is also under stress, because there's this connection, there's tenseness and all this sort of stuff. We can learn to relax. We've all heard the term anal retentive, right? I mean, that's actually one of the things that in this Quantum Leap course that he talked a lot about, but learning how to relax, and anal retention and all these, a lot of stresses, a lot of cancers and all these sort of things, they're being found out now. They're connected to stress, us being wound up too tight, right? So we can learn how to relax. We can learn how to dis-ease get rid of have more ease in our lives, which, dis-ease is sort of stress, right? Because it's the lack of ease. And yeah, I think it's very important. And it's not so much a how-to video here. It's just a few comments that came to me, thoughts that came to me as to, this is important. It's important for us to learn, especially in the era of the boogaloo, right? Where you have, cities burning down and stuff like that, and it seems to be a lot of problems in the world. But do we really need to have those in ourselves? I think that we can create our own relaxation, momentary relaxation when we need it, which helps us to recharge, helps us to improve the quality of our lives, but also helps us to be more effective in our inner genie journeys. What do you think? If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share. I ask nothing more, nothing less either. Nothing more and nothing less. No, it's great to be able to say hello to people, and I appreciate those who do chime in periodically, and let's keep it growing. It's harder to get views these days, but hey, you know what? I've always said it. If I get to communicate on a deeper level to even one person in the world, hey, that's the joy. The more the merrier for sure, but one is better than talking to myself. Talk in soon. Bye for now.